Let's go on Procyon, the planet of the fixed star of denucleafication. And this is a Jupiter hour in a Mercury night, which is a good combination to call both on Antares and Aldebaran. And let's talk about denucleafication when we are talking about energy. So nuclear energy is very condensed energy, right? Plutonian energy. And when we're talking about energy, the way that it is produced before we go to the actual preparing of A-bombs, there are a lot of rituals. When you see centers like CERN and stuff like that, there are a lot of rituals involved and imbued with the preparation of these things. And when we talk about denucleafication, it's basically de-ritualization, okay? Dissolving the ritual abuse that's done in children, in humans, and that is the road to denucleafication. Now, why is denucleafication important? Let's talk about a state like Israel, which is abundant with nukes, right? And so when you think about the fact that each nuke has only a short range of people immediately dying, and the rest, which is pretty vast, is intense suffering. So it's not a humane way to kill. And that emulates the result of the product, of the production process. The production process of an A-bomb, other than the physical, okay, for the making of the bomb, is the ritual sacrifice of humans, of infants, of children, en masse. So we're talking about lodges upon lodges, global activity, underground, very Plutonian, and that creates for a product that is equally destructive above ground. So as a below, so above. And so when we think about the process of denucleafication, we think about beginning to work with our energies to the underground, beginning to connect with the nervous system to the underground. So let's say if you're psychically attacked, beginning to work on the central nervous system of the earth above and below, and creating energy changes, okay? Dissolving the energy junctures or obstructions to having a good flow of life above and below. That means abolishing ritual abuse, whether it's tribal or lodge-based, and understanding that that takes place. Okay, so the reason, for example, why would that Itamar Yaron suddenly have a changed energy is because he's a part of some lodge, psychologist that decides which children will be kidnapped for which rituals, a part of some lodge. So they go on a ceremony, and then they, I don't know, masturbate together, or I don't know what, and do those weird rituals where they try to activate energy within people. So if that reached you, a good thing to do would be to connect with the entire nervous system of everybody that was ever hurt by these lodges, and with the entire nervous system of bringing that to the forefront, of exposing, of dissolving for the energy congestions, okay, and the understanding that the upkeeping of A-bombs is losing its energy base, okay, and this is just on energy level, understanding that those rituals produce basically weapon that is it's not of mass destruction, but basically is ritual abuse, another form of ritual abuse. So we tend to it both below and above, both in energy and physically. So when we talk about denucleafication, this is so important for the earth in general, because otherwise we'll just explode into extinction, and the people that think that they will be happy in the bunkers, they won't. Okay, we all know that ritual abuse, if those are leaders, influencers, are born into cults, and once they automate the democide, they are subjected to the same ritual abuse they were subjected to as children. Okay, if you think back to people like Rutte, like Wilders, like Trump, like Musk, and the people that shape shift, okay, like intelligence, like Idonefo, like Itamar Yaron, okay, the psychologists at the junctures of, so to make sure nobody gets out of the cult, nobody recovers. And basically that entire structure is composting right now. Pluto is the sign of compost. What I really liked about Pluto rules the pipeline. And I remember when I was in the Dead Sea and Pluto was also in Aquarius, right? Before it completely ingressed. I met a woman and she said she was traveling in some country. I don't remember. And the pipelines were above the ground. Okay. And when I was at a restaurant, actually upon the Pluto ingress, I paid attention to the silver pipelines on the ceiling. So you want to think about where the underground becomes above. And so this is a time where if we tend to denuclearification, if we tend to dissolving ritual satanic abuse, both underground and in energy, in all those hidden facets, and if we tend to our actual sciences, if we tend to the fact that any social media, for example, that commits crimes against humanity, of removing testimonials of people we got in the medical field and so on, is committing crime against humanity, which is punishable by death. And we just remind ourselves that this is the truth, and this is a time where if a corrupt system is not able to take care of that, so people have a right to defend themselves against crime against humanity and to kill those who commit crimes against humanity. Okay, if you want to think what would you do at I don't know, the Second World War, then very likely, okay, if those people come to commit crime against humanity, then okay, then this is punishable by death, and it's everywhere regarding every country. Including if country commits crime against its citizens, okay? And so this is the process of denuclearification. If you think about an example of a psychologist, Itamar Yaron, so what they were doing, and it's not allegedly, they were using mind control to kidnap people and commit torture in them prior to 7th October, and they were checking of the behavior of the people. Okay, so what would, if you were told that, let's say, every person in your phone list will also be kidnapped, what would you do? My recommendation to you, immediately call the people on your list, okay? Anything that is scare tactics, don't act by scare tactics, okay? So no, basically what is happening right now, that all the scare tactics have been tried and all of them failed miserably. And although it does move, okay? Deneb algedi. Let's call on deneb algedi for Pluto in Aquarius. Deneb algedi is very important, and it's not about the ritual sacrifice, which is inverted version of deneb algedi, but actually equity, wealth redistribution that is genuine wealth redistribution. It's not you will own nothing and be happy, but rather that you have a right to be on the land. Okay, it's the sovereignty. And whichever land you land on, you have the right to be on the land. This is the basis for invoking the second. And it's very in alignment with capitalism. Okay, but what is not in alignment with is leaving people unhoused. Okay, so those things are very deneb algedi. Deneb algedi will tell you where to steal from when you need to steal food. So where is good for the wealth redistribution, okay? For example, not to steal from a poor person, but to steal from a place where maybe there are business, lawyers, buildings, okay, that they can order another lunch, but they won't let you. So that is for when it comes to food sources. Deneb algedi is protector of those who are marginalized and outcast. Okay, for example, there was the Deutsche Welle documentary about Malcolm X, and there are new FBI involvement in his assassination, and you could not judge him for being Muslim, which was very likely satanic Muslim back then, whether he knew it or not, without understanding that he was arrested, put into jail, and there he had to follow Islam, otherwise he would not survive. So this is where he would get picked up by the Islamic lodges, because they had an agenda of having another civil war in the United States that is supposedly racial based. So Deneb algedi is the protector of that which is outcast from society. Is guarding of property. So if you are if you're ethical with your property, this would be the guarding of property. Okay. For example, I immediately understood that it was Itamar Yaron who stole, very likely, okay, hypothesis, my crystal dildo. And then it seems more and more likely that he also stole the tincture by Thema Mundi, which basically makes it more accessible, not because when you open the door, okay, it basically means that you are as permeable as you try to permeate. So it's either you establish connection that is working, like before, like the way JFK avoided another world war, where he established connection with the Kremlin. Okay, so since 1963, we have connection with direct hotline between the Kremlin and United States. So any Cold War they try to sell you, and the MK Ultra people on this Cold War, is bogus. Regardless of who is, whether it's Putin or another leader, the infrastructure is working. This, we have to remember this no less than the Cuba Missile Crisis. So if you open a door and establish communication, that means that I have a direct hotline to your nervous system and the nervous system of your lodges to abolish ritual abuse. Okay, which is very likely what the reason why this was allowed. So now, by taking something of my energy, you don't control my energy, you open the door that the minute you hold that, I have complete energy to your entire psyche, the lodges, anybody who has ever had energetic sex with you or intimacy with you, whether it's your wife, your children, and light up this nervous system as a decentralized nervous system. And when we talk about this, the best security is about open source system. Like our nervous system is an open source system, and you can call out for all these things. Everybody that has been hurt is like, oh, there is a breach in security, now must tend to all of this hurt all at once and dissolve for this energy. So this is basically how we tend to this. And this is important because if we begin with the nuclear disasters, which are ritual abuse that is beginning underground with children, then entire humanity goes extinct, and the very people that thought that they would celebrate on that will relive the torture of childhood, because that's what the cult will do to them. And that's not